Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This episode, going to get the fenders painted and reinstalled on the truck. So if you want to see how they turned out, please keep watching.
Okay, so I've got my Dexter slice and dice booth all set up. I mean my paint booth all set up here. This one I did a little bit smaller than last one. This one's 10 foot by 10 foot. The other one was, about 10 feet by almost 16 feet. So I can probably use this size of one for most of the parts except the bed. I'll have to do a full size one for the bed again. But for now, got it set up. Fenders are in here on a stand and everything has been final scuffed and ready for paint. Back the camera out just a little bit, just so you guys can get a better view. And I thought about hanging these from wires, but I just figured it'd be better just to wire them onto the stands, and they're kind of horizontal enough. I think I'm okay with painting them like this. And with a 10 by 10, there's plenty of room to completely get around and spray everywhere. I still have to cut out for my fan exit in the morning. But until then, I'm gonna leave it like this and come back in the morning, and then I'm gonna wipe these down with wax and grease remover, and then obviously gonna hit it with a tack cloth and then spray it. And again, one wax and grease remover over everything inside and outside, and then tack cloth it and spray it. And then in between each stage, so in between the epoxy, in between the base, I'm going to hit it with a tack cloth again after each coat has dried. That just makes sure and gets any little nibs and stuff that might be resting on the paint. And hopefully, I don't get any bugs this time. Tried to get this sealed up as much as I can, put the stuff in here tonight. I'm gonna shut the lights off, so hopefully very few bugs come in here in the middle of the night. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. So next time you see these fenders, there'll be a little bit of color black on them, and I'll probably come back and show you in between each coat until the final complete clear. Hopefully it turn out good. Otherwise, you're not gonna have a happy person in the paint booth. Hopefully you can hear me okay over the fan, but got the sealer down. So far, it looks pretty good. I don't see any major problems with the body work. It looked good when I was shooting it. Guess we'll find out after I get some base on here and get it cleared. Here's what they look like after one medium coat of DP90LF sealer and 3 medium coats of DBC 9700 base. So far, everything looks pretty good. Now, next step is mix up some 2021 clear, and I'm planning on putting 4 medium coats on here and hopefully keep the runs to a minimum. Okay guys, these are a little bit tacky, so they're gonna stay in the booth for another couple hours before I kind of open it up, but everything turned out pretty good, it looks like. Be able to see a little bit better when I get some more light in here. It's one thing that sucks about putting up all this plastic is it blocks a lot of my shop light, but overall they turned out good. There's a little bit of fine Australian Shepherd hairs in there from my 1-year-old puppy that seem to cling everywhere. I think I can buff them out though. There's one of them right there, but I mean, it didn't turn out too bad. So Overall, I'm pretty happy with it because I don't see any runs in the paint, and that's actually pretty good for me. And normally what I do when I'm painting clear is normally I do 3 coats that are fairly wet, and I let it flash about 15 minutes in between coats. But this time I changed up my spray pattern a little bit. And what I did is I actually went 5 coats on this, but instead of 3 pretty wet coats, I did 5 coats where I'm moving the gun about this fast. And the first 4 coats were maybe a little bit slower than that, but I had pretty good overlap. And I was moving the gun about this speed and got a fairly decent wet coat on there. And then I came back with a 5th coat and just moved really kind of quick over the whole thing and just kind of missed it all just to hit it in areas that I thought maybe I missed a little bit. So 4 coats, 4.5 coats, but I'd say it turned out pretty good. And I did clear the inside with 3 pretty wet coats. I didn't do 5 on the inside. The inside of this just all has 3 except for the top portions along here, which will be highly visible under the hood. Those have 4 coats as well. The true test will be when I get it out into the light. And since my booth was pretty small in here, again 10 by 10 foot, I actually decided just to do the 2 fenders right now. I'm gonna leave the booth up for another couple days, and I'm gonna spray some small stuff in here while I've got the booth up. Kind of show you guys too. This is one good thing I like about using the plastic. You can see just the staticness of it. It kind of clings a lot of stuff to it. It keeps the dirt down. The only problem with it is obviously downdrafts are way better because bugs are a lot less of a problem and you get a lot more airflow. That little fan is okay for doing this, but you get much bigger and you almost need 2 of those fans or like a whole 3-foot fan. The 2-footer is just, it works okay. Okay, so the sun's going down and this thing is now been in here for about 3 hours and it is completely tack free and it's dry. I could definitely throw these on the vehicle right now, but I'm gonna let these sit in here overnight just because that's the way I am. And because for some reason I've got something going on in my neck, it hurts like hell, so I'm just gonna call it good for today. But these did turn out pretty good. Been over them and I don't see a single run in them. These are definitely going to have to be color sanded and polished, but I think they turned out good as far as the body work, as far as welding in the markers. I don't see any deviations in the panel lines or any waviness at all. This side was the side I was worried about up front. And I don't see a problem with it either. It looks good. So now all that's left to do, let these sit in here for another 24 hours and put them on the truck. All right, as you guys can see, I've got the fenders on the truck, and granted, these are just on with a couple bolts. I haven't set the gaps or anything like that. These are just on to get them out of the way so they don't get screwed up in the shop when I'm doing other stuff. Once the doors are painted and permanently attached and gapped, then these will be as well. Until then, just give you an idea of how they look and how the paint turned out. Still not a lot of light in the shop, even the daytime, that you can really see everything, but they did turn out fairly well. I will say there is a little bit of orange peel on the paint. I would say it's no worse than what you see in any factory paint today. It's definitely gonna have to be cut and buffed though, just because it's not acceptable to me how it looks. And that comes from basically how I kind of changed my laydown pattern because I was so worried about having to deal with runs that I must have not got my wet coats on quite as wet as I wanted to, and ended up with a little bit of orange peel on there. Obviously across the top is actually good. It's just more along the sides that is the problem. So this all looks really, really well, and there's not going to be hardly any cutting required here. But on the sides, yeah, you can see it right there. Not a big deal. The paint's thick enough, but it's just going to require a little bit more effort on my part to color sand that out with some 2 and 3000 grit later. So the future question on my painting would be, do I put it on wet and possibly deal with runs, or do I do it this way, do some lighter coats, do more of them, and have to deal with orange peel? I mean, either way, you're cutting and buffing. Yeah, probably from this point on, I'll probably just do the wetter coats and deal with a couple runs, and that way I know there's plenty of clear on the vehicle, or panel, or part, whatever you want to call it.
So got the fenders temporarily back on the truck until I can get the doors painted and permanently installed and gapped, and then I can get the fenders permanently installed on the truck. For now, they've just got a couple bolts holding them in place just so they're out of the way so I don't knock them over and really get upset. So next video is going to be getting to work on the doors, getting them finished, sanded for the second time, and prepped for paint again. And I'm gonna have to put up another paint booth, obviously, but it is what it is when you have to work out of a small shop and don't have access to really, really nice stuff. So, in the meantime, thanks again for watching, everybody, and we will see you guys next time. Later.